It is 10 a.m. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. NBA playoff action from last night. Conference finals got underway in the East. The Miami Heat defeated the Boston Celtics at home 118-107, rallying in the second half as Jimmy Butler put up 49 points. In the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning routed the Florida Panthers 4-1 in Game 1 of that second-round series. In the West, the Colorado Avalanche taking Game 1 over the St. Louis Blues, a final score of 3-2. Former Giants cornerback James Bradberry has his landing spot, signing a one-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles for $10 million. College baseball, a Tennessee matchup as the Vols beat Belmont 18-0 yesterday. Tennessee now 46-7 for the season, going into the final regular season series of the year against Mississippi State. Vanderbilt defeated Middle Tennessee 7-2 in another in-state matchup. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome in on this Wednesday. Hope you are feeling right, living well. We're happy to have you guys in for today's show. If you're not familiar with our show, I'm Buck Reising. I'm here with you until 1 o'clock. We got Robert Walsh. We got Lucas Panzica making it happen behind the scenes. We got your phone calls all throughout the course of the day. 615-737-1045 is how you do so. 615-737-1045 is how you let your voice be heard. Now, there is a lot to discuss, a lot to get to. We'll have Ron Slay. Is he in studio today, Lucas?
We never know.
Okay. That's just one time I'd like to. I mean,
would be nice.
Just one time. I would like to know confirmation before I walk in here whether Slay is in fact going to be in the studio or not. But he'll be here at some point. Well, he'll be here at 12:20. Whether it's in person or on the phone is yet to be determined. Perhaps on Zoom and shirtless. That's always a nice curveball that the big fella throws us. But we got to start with a news item that I saw. I mean, this had to have been a couple of days ago when I saw the tweet come out from Adam Vingan of The Athletic, who covers the Nashville Predators. And it was, 19 hours ago, to be exact. John Hines and David Poile will, he adds parenthetically, finally hold their end-of-season news conference Thursday morning. So that's tomorrow. Do we know what time that's taking place, Lucas? Do we have any idea at this point?
11 a.m.
So I think I'd like to carry that live if we could. Because I know, hockey is done for the year. I mean, at least locally. And I know that the NHL playoffs have been exciting, but as far as local interest is concerned, meh. But this is the most interesting outcome of any of it. The idea that John Hines and David Poile together will hold their end-of-season news conference. I mean, this is what, almost 2 weeks removed? No, not quite 2 weeks.
About a week removed from that sweep.
Okay, let's say about 10 days. About 10 days from their hockey game, their hockey team being swept. Now, why would it take so long to hold this end-of-season press conference? Because, most sports typically do it either the day after or 2 days after their team's season comes to an end.
They did have a locker room clean-out day presser with players the day after the loss.
I don't care about the players. The players, largely, outside of Philip Forsberg, I know who's coming back and who's probably not. What I do care about is the fact that it took 10 days for them to figure out, John Hines and David Poile will be the ones to hold this press conference, as opposed to ownership, as opposed to Sean Henry as the president, although he's typically at these things, isn't he? I don't know, and I've not been to an end-of-season press conference. I just know that he has a lot of say in the comings and goings of the hockey team. What makes this so interesting is that it would seem that they're coming back. Both of them. David Poile and John Hines. John Hines, whose contract had expired at the end of the season. David Poile, who has been in this role for 23 years as the general manager of the Nashville Predators and, of course, the winningest all-time NHL general manager. And their season came to a disastrous end. So we're going to run it back? Is that what I'm to understand from all of this? After all the hemming and hawing about teams that have underperformed and chasing roster ghosts of the 2017 Stanley Cup team, never being able to really recreate that special feeling that they had. President's Cup season, President's Trophy season, was a lot of fun until the playoffs. So what I want to know is why? What is the justification for bringing both of these gentlemen back? Not that I have any ill will against John Hines or David Poile, but if we were to put John Robinson and Mike Vrabel in a similar situation, and by the way, they may well be in a similar situation if they continue to have these one and done in the playoffs, what is to instill confidence in the fan base that the organization recognizes that there is a problem and that the problem is coming from the top? I don't know how much responsibility to place at the feet of John Hines. I think that he has done well over the course of the last 3 seasons, weird though they may have been, in trying to get this team competitive and doing so in different ways, experimenting a little bit, trying different line changes, and doing the things that he thinks is going to give his team the best chance to win. And I also understand that they completely fell flat, that they were, for all of the regular season awards and accolades, that this team didn't belong on the same ice as the Colorado Avalanche, and looked it. And, the result bore itself out. 4-0 on their heads. David Poile is the more interesting situation here, because I think if I had to put a word on it, it would be stagnant. That's kind of the vibe that I get from them right now. Not to say that David Poile doesn't deserve everything that he's gotten, not to say that David Poile hasn't earned everything that he's gotten, but I don't see it getting better. In fact, it's just kind of plateaued. 615-737-1045 is the number. Tony D on YouTube chimes in. Not many teams can hang with the Avalanche. Sure, that's a good point. They're one of the best teams in hockey this year. They likely will go on to either compete in the Stanley Cup Finals or win the damn thing. It's entirely possible. I'm looking at this, though, and saying, is making the postseason enough for you? Is what your experience with the Nashville Predators over the last, let's say, 4 seasons, is that enough? Does that satisfy your need for competitive hockey? And if the answer is no, well, then you have to look at why. There can be a conversation had about highly paid players underperforming in the biggest moments. We've just seen that take place. Took until Game 4 for Philip Forsberg to get on the scoreboard, and now somebody is likely going to pay him in the area of $9 to $10 million a year. Whether that's the Preds or not, entirely different matter. But if it's not enough for you beyond that, then you have to look at the roster construction, because why is this thing continuing to underperform based on the expectations that we have for it? And if there is no other answer other than the person responsible and the staff under him responsible for making the personnel decisions and signing these big contracts and chasing things like Matt Duchene, which did come to fruition this year, did pay dividends in the playoffs this year, how are you going to invigorate Preds fans for another season of, hey, we're just going to run this thing back again? It doesn't give you a lot of inspiration. Now, maybe they will say something tomorrow that changes this narrative. I have no idea what to expect. In fact, this is the first Preds press conference I've ever actively advocated for us to carry on the air, because it is consequential. It will very much define how invested they can keep people in their club, because that investment has certainly waned over the course of the last couple seasons. And you'll have some people that fall off because, Stanley Cup runs are fun and, it's an exciting thing to be a part of and to be around. And, okay, my friends are about this thing and I want to be about this thing, and fear of missing out and Instagram pictures and, Instagram stories from the arena. And you've got all these different things that make it connective to be a part of. But that connectivity has been frayed because the team hasn't lived up to their side of the bargain. Now, in the same note, you could make the argument for the Titans kind of being in this similar space. You could make the argument that they have not exceeded the expectation, or they have not lived up to the expectation that they set in Mike Vrabel's second year. To achieve at a higher level, they have hosted home playoff games now, something that they haven't done in the better part of 2 decades. They have now been a part of the postseason for 3 straight years, which, if Titans fans understand and know, going back years, that's not an easy thing to do. You're grading on a little bit of a different curve there, and if the Titans continue on this trend, then we will be having the same discussion around that organization. But today, we're looking at the Predators. And as I see what Adam Vingan is saying, which the fact that they are holding their end-of-season news conference basically 10 days after their season came to an end with the same head coach and the same general manager leading the conversation, that all but guarantees that both of those individuals are going to be back next year. And I don't know how that hits Preds fans. I don't know how that hits Nashville sports fans. And if you're trying to appeal to a larger consumer base, you just need something fresh, because this thing, it feels pretty stale. 615-737-1045 is how you can join in on the conversation. We have news, though, in the world of college football that I want to get to. Robert has put together a list of players based on this latest commitment to the Oklahoma Sooners that I think is going to be a lot of fun. We'll tell you what that game is coming up next, and we'll take your reaction to anything that you have to say about the Nashville Predators. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Go to springhillac.com.
Wild Feathers. Aren't they on tour right now?
I believe they were in Memphis last weekend.
Very nice. Haven't caught up with our friends from the Wild Feathers in a while. If they're out on tour, maybe we'll have to catch another show. That was as much fun as I've had at a concert in a long, long time when we saw them at the Mercy Lounge, and hope they're doing well. So there was a news item in college football that got the creative, whatever you want to call it, gears turning as far as our show is concerned. Because what I saw a couple of days ago was a commitment from a junior college quarterback to the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, it would largely be a non-story anywhere else in the country outside of Norman, Oklahoma, if not for this young man's name. So this is college quarterback, General, first name, Booty, Booty, last name. He's 6'3", 195 pounds. He's a sophomore out of Tyler Junior College in Texas, and he has now 3 years of eligibility remaining with the Sooners. There's an incredible hype video. There's a number 10 jersey with the name Booty on the back of it. He is the son of former LSU receiver Abram Booty, and he comes from a prominent football family. His uncle Josh was a quarterback at LSU and a Major League Baseball player. He's got another uncle, John David, who played quarterback at USC while Pete Carroll was still, coaching and winning titles and getting titles revoked and all of these different things. Heisman's won and Heisman's revoked across the Pete Carroll USC era. So Derek R. seems to understand where we're going with this on YouTube. He says, can we do a worst name in football? I have a suggestion. Well, I would not nominate this as a worst name in football. I would nominate this as a best name in football. And so Robert, who has been hanging around with us for the past couple of weeks, are you doing this with any other show, or are you just actively seeking Lucas Panzica's job at this point?
Not so much looking for his job, just trying to make the show a little better, add some creativity.
What are you trying to say?
I mean,
He listened
Test
to
number
every
one,
show.
failed.
He listened to every show before his first day here and said, this is the one that needs
This is the one that
workshopping.
needs the help the most. Okay, which is completely fair. So, Robert, why don't you tell people, because Robert, of course, the creator of the Nashville's new favorite game, Horse or Rock Band, which I regrettably forgot to play on Friday after telling Robert that I would like to play Horse or Rock Band on Friday. What is this latest game that you have brought to us?
Okay, so I saw General Booty, and names just flushed into my mind of guys that had great names, guys that had names that fit their position. So there are two school of thoughts with this. You can have a guy like Quentin Jammer, a cornerback, whose name perfectly fits his position. Or you can have guys like Wave Rider, who played for Navy, that just have cool names.
Wave Rider is a great name.
Perfect name, especially for Navy, the midshipman. So they've got him going for him. So I've created a list of players at every position, and we are going to decide who the all-name team is for football.
Okay, so how many total names do you have on this list that you've prepared? Because there's multiple players at every position. And by the way, if you call in with a name that you think we have neglected to put on the all-name team and that you would like to nominate as belonging to the all-name team, we would be happy to take your suggestions. 615-737-1045 is how you do that, because I see 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. What do we have? 6 wide receivers. How many total names are on this list?
I didn't add a numerical number to this.
Excellent.
So we've just got a plethora of picks for multiple positions.
So Lucas is the executive producer of this radio show. How do you want to play this game? How do you want to orchestrate this? Because we have a game show aesthetic that we like, but I'm not sure how to really orchestrate this as the person who's supposed to be hosting this.
Well, we need to determine a starting 11, correct?
A starting 11 indeed.
Let's go position by position. There are 3 people here. There is an odd number of people, so we can vote on the starter at each respective position.
And immediately the phone lines start to light up because people want to play this game. Okay, do we have terrible cheesy radio production to put around this perhaps? Okay. I think this is the same music as Horse or Rock Band. It's fine. We can take those as well. Give it a little louder to me in my ear if you wouldn't mind. Beautiful. All right, so we start with the quarterback position. Actually, it's too loud. I just had my voice down too low. I'm sorry.
I know what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you for all of your good work. I'll let you be the producer. All right, who are the names at the quarterback position that people need to know?
We've got Chuck Long, who famously played for the Detroit Lions. We've got General Booty, who we previously talked about committing to Oklahoma. And Major Applewhite, who played for Texas.
Okay, so immediately Lucas is in my ear saying that we need to add one. There has been an egregious error made at the quarterback position that must be added to this game.
Who'd I
Be
miss?
remiss not to mention former Tennessee quarterback, former Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter.
Right out
That's
the
a
gate.
great one.
Jim Bob Cooter belongs in this conversation. So how are we doing the voting for the purposes of, I guess there's three of us, so this no longer gets to be an autocracy, basically, where I have the authoritative rule at the end of this. My vote counts for two, and Lucas is only one. Now we have Robert to even the odds. So I think that now, quick question about Major Applewhite. Is it in fact capital A, capital W in Major Applewhite, or is that just a typo?
That's probably a typo on my part. I'm not that smart.
Excellent work by you. What are you laughing about back there? I'll get to you later. So Jim Bob Cooter, Chuck Long, General Booty, Major Applewhite. Since this is Robert's game, we will start with Robert. Who do you think advances?
The list was spawned from General Booty. So at first I wanted to go General Booty, but now Jim Bob Cooter is just 10 out of 10 for me. So I got to go Jim Bob.
Jim Bob Cooter is an exceptional name. I have to say, though, that General Booty, to name your child General, understanding that your last name, the family last name, that has carried them through so many different eras of football player and apparently Major League Baseball, if ESPN's reporting on this is correct, I have to say General Booty. So one vote for General Booty, one vote for Jim Bob Cooter. Lucas gets to be the tiebreaker here.
I think I got to go General Booty. As much as I love Jim Bob Cooter, I agree with the last name Booty. It takes a lot to name your son General.
Excellent. Yes, General Booty, the Oklahoma quarterback, the Tyler Junior College transfer quarterback, now playing for the Sooners, will be our all-name team quarterback, the most important position, the most important name. Now, apparently he went to 4 different high schools as his family moved, as I'm reading this, his family moved, including 2 in California and 2 in Texas, finishing his career at Allen, Texas, which is in the Dallas area. Not heavily recruited out of high school. I feel like you recruit this kid just on name brand alone, just to have a jersey with the last name Booty strapped across the shoulders.
You might as well print money at that point.
I'm saying, especially in this era of name, image, and likeness, my man is about to make bank. The running back position. What names do we have in front of us here?
We've got Max Strong, who played for the Seahawks. He's more of a fullback, but I don't really care about that. Tiki Barber. And you got Tank Bigsby, who was an Auburn favorite.
Okay, so all of these are fair suggestions. I think that I have to look at a couple of different. Wasn't there a running back with an incredible name coming out this year that was of consequence that went through in the combine? I'm trying to find his name to do this last minute, but in the absence of the internet failing me, why don't we just work with these 3? Tiki Barber, Max Strong, Tank Bigsby will be the names. Now, it is Smoke Monday, Jonathan Kelly says. That's a safety. We'll get to the safety positions later on. I think that I would have to say Tank Bigsby, even though that Tank seems more like a defensive tackle or an offensive lineman. I think that Tank Bigsby is going to be my selection. Robert, what say you?
Were you talking about Snoop Connor or Sincere McCormick?
Sincere McCormick. Can I change my vote? Thank you. Well done by you. Sincere McCormick is my nominee. He came out of this year's draft class. Snoop Connor, a good one as well. But I would have to give I would sincerely proclaim my interest in Sincere McCormick's name.
I'm going to have to go Max Strong. He just fits the role. And if you watch the dude play, he was a bruiser. The name fits him. I'm going to go Max Strong.
Lucas, the tiebreaker.
So what happens when I pick Tank Bigsby?
Well, then
they all make the squad.
No, they don't all make the squad. Running back by committee? Is that how we're doing this? Is that so? All 3 advance, and poor Tiki Barber just gets left behind. Just in the way that Michael Strahan left Tiki Barber behind, because that's who was supposed to have the Michael Strahan career in broadcasting. Not Michael Strahan, but Tiki Barber. And then, Mike came for all the stuff with the gap-toothed charm that has made him a cast member of, Good Morning America? He's like one of the highest paid athletes, still making $20 million less a year than Tom Brady whenever Tom Brady decides to step into the Fox booth. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give myself 2 votes, and Sincere McCormick advances. It's Robert's game, but I get to cheat.
It's your show.
Yeah, it's our show. I think it's collectively.
You can't say that after giving yourself 2 votes.
No, well, yeah, sure. But I can be self-aware about the fact that I'm going to play the rules differently. And, while still acknowledging that both of you are making this show possible.
He's playing both sides, so he always comes out on top.
Amen, brother. Now, JT on YouTube says Cavassier Smoke is a better running back name than all 3 of those. Are we willing to reconsider our selection? This is taking entirely too long, by the way, because we've gotten hung up on all the great running back names across history. Does anybody want to recast their vote for Cavassier Smoke? Anybody?
Have you ever seen Ladies Man before? Path the Cavassier? I don't think it'll matter because you had 2 votes. I mean, I will vote for Cavassier, but it's not going to work out. I think we're still stuck with Sincere.
We have a submission from Rich Ferris for Cadillac Williams, another former Auburn running back. And we have a submission on Twitter for former Marshall running back from 2008, Chubb Small.
Oh, stop.
Now, Chuba Hubbard is also an exceptional one. There's too many damn running backs. Okay, I think
position name, best all name position group is the running back group.
There do tend to be more creatively named running backs than any other position. I will give them that. I think that I am going to switch my vote to give Cavassier Smoke 3 votes. And I have seen the movie Ladies Man. I'm pretty sure it ran every summer on like Comedy Central. That and Saving Silverman. Those are the daytime television movies that are embedded in my skull from my grade school years. All right, we move to the wide receivers. Cavassier Smoke advances. Wide receivers, what do we have in front of us here, Robert?
We've got Buffalo Bills great Peerless Price. We've got Pierre Garçon, which translate to Rock Boy. Nick Toon, son of Al Toon.
Al Toon's really good.
Fat Watts. He is actually 190 pounds soaking wet, so I thought it was ironic. And the coldest to ever do it, Crawford.
Oh, my God.
Who committed to LSU and had to transfer to Nebraska.
All right, so since there are a number of wide receivers, we are going to elect 2 wide receivers to advance. Lucas, you had something quickly?
Yes, as we continue Robert's education of Tennessee football, that would be Tennessee legend Peerless Price.
I like it. I also skipped one. Little Jordan Humphreys, who's actually 6'4", 225.
Yeah, he's a big boy. I remember him at Texas. So I think that I can vote for everybody on this to say the coldest to ever do it, Crawford.
Yep.
Nebraska wide receiver will advance.
He's our starter.
So that he is wide receiver 1. He is the $25 million a year player on our all-name team. Now that leaves Peerless Price, Pierre Garçon, Nick Toon, Lil Jordan Humphreys, and Fat Watts to advance. Lucas, we'll start with you.
I like Fat. I like the name Fat with the PH. That takes guts. I like that.
When did Fat with a PH go out of style? Was
Let's
that
bring
like
it back.
That's like an early 2000s thing, I feel like, or like maybe late 90s. I think it's made better by the fact that he's 190 pounds soaking wet. Robert, what say you?
I'm going to try to garner some respect with the Tennessee fans after I called them all hicks last week. I'm going to go Peerless Price. I'm also a hick. I can say it, right? I thought that's how it works.
So Robert, just shameless pandering, votes for Peerless Price as wide receiver number 2. Lucas has gone with Fat Watts. I think that I am going to have to bring this to consensus on Fat Watts. I think that the fact that he's 190 pounds soaking wet, PH fat, I think is what sets it over the top for me. So our starting wide receivers on the all-name team, the coldest to ever do it, Crawford out of Nebraska, and Fat Watts, the former wide receiver out of Tulane. Now there's only one submission at the tight end spot. And I think that there is an egregious name being left off. But why don't you, Robert, go ahead and tell people who you have nominated as the sole tight end.
All right, I had to scour the internet. There's not a lot of cool tight end names. There was a guy for the Dolphins named Gator Stone that I did not include in this list, but the guy that I've got up there is Philip, not just Naw, but Super Naw.
Super Naw was an interesting. So I covered Phil. One of I think that was my first season here. Interesting guy, Philip Super Naw. And I think had concussion problems, so I hope he's doing well. But I would like to submit another nominee just for the sake of giving us options. I'll keep it simple. 2 syllables. Jake Butt, the tight end, the former Denver Bronco. I believe, where did Jake Butt play college football? That's right. He was a Michigan tight end. I think he had some injury stuff that caused him
tore his ACL coming into the draft.
Fall. That's correct. So we have the options of Jake Butt or Philip Super Naw. I am going to go with, just because it's not like I have anything against Phil, but I think I like Jake Butt better. Jake Butt is going to be my starting tight end. Robert, you get the next pick.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you. Jake Butt. And with all the stuff now, if he was in college when you could actually make some money, he would have had Charmin deals. He would have had toilet paper companies lining up out the door. I'm going to go Jake Butt.
That monkey butt powder, right, for chafing, right? If you played high school football, if you were an offensive lineman, if you had giant thighs like I did, you were familiar with the talcum powder monkey butt experience. Lucas, you have a vote. It doesn't matter now because Robert and I have both voted for Jake Butt.
It's Jake Butt. He deserves it because of the bullying he inevitably had to experience as a child with that last name.
Without question. Now we've started to have people submit their own. Now this is for a wide receiver. Let's see if we can't unseat Fat Watts or the coldest to ever do it Crawford as our starting wide receivers on the all-name team. Josh is in Nashville with his mission. What do you have, Josh?
Guys, not really a fan of Michigan, but out of Michigan in 96, into the NFL draft in 1996, Mercury Hayes is incredible.
Mercury Hayes, so is it Hayes or Haze?
Oh, it's so unfortunate that it's Hayes.
You know what?
Ever a candidate for going to the courthouse and getting a change of name. Because Haze is so pimp.
I would have let you unseat one of our 2 starting wide receivers with Mercury Hayes had it been Haze, but because it is Hayes as in Hayes, I think I will have to stick with Fat Watson, the coldest to ever do it Crawford. I just want to say that name as many times as I can.
We did have submissions in the YouTube chat for a receiver that played for the Cleveland Browns in the 60s and 70s named Fair Hooker.
Oh.
Moving on.
What do you want me to do with that? That's such a dead fish that you just threw in my lap, by the way. What do you want me to do with Fair Hooker?
It's the guy's name. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
You know what you did there. All right. So we have starting quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. Now, we're not going to bog the proceedings down because this is already taking far longer than I expected. We'll have to do all-name team defense on another day, perhaps on Friday. But let's select. So you have it laid out: offensive tackle, guard, and center. At this point, you don't have a name at center.
I don't have a name at center, so we could glom interior offensive line together. Unless you guys have somebody that's really sticking out to you, I couldn't think of a center.
Perhaps. Okay, so we've got. Why don't you give us the names? Go down the list.
At offensive tackle, we've got Guy Wimper from the Jacksonville Jaguars, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, who's named after a painting, oddly enough, played for the Jets, and Brodarius Ham. Sounds like a surfer. Played for Auburn.
Brodarius Ham. Sounds like somebody who has meat hooks for hands. That's basically what I would associate with him.
He's massive.
Now, at the guard position, there are better names, it would seem.
Yes, at the guard position. Forrest Lamp, who flamed out with the Chargers. Will Shields, who did not do that with the Chiefs. And Bear Hunter, who's actually from my hometown, who plays for App State.
Okay. I think that we're going to go ahead and vote Bear Hunter onto the all-name team.
Yeah.
That's Baer Hunter at this point. Where is your hometown, Robert?
He's from Clemens. I say Winston because nobody knows where the hell Clemens is, but Clemens, North Carolina.
Okay, Clemens, North Carolina's own Bear Hunter. So from Will Shields, Forrest Lamp, Brodarius Ham, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, and Guy Wimper, Lucas, who are you selecting?
DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
Okay.
Has to be.
DeBrickashaw Ferguson. What painting is he named after? Do you have details on this?
Oh, I am not that smart to come in here quoting Rembrandt paintings for you, but I could do some research.
Wasn't prepared for follow-ups. That's a note at this point. We have submissions for a center name that I think we must take. Let's try. Will is calling us from where, Lucas? From Nashville? From Nashville. Will is in Nashville up next. Hello, Will.
Hey, how you doing, Buck?
I'm great. What do you got for us?
I got Jeff Saturday. That's not bad.
Jeff Saturday doesn't stink. Jeff Saturday, it's I think it's a little bit more generic than what we're going for. I've also seen Creed Humphrey nominated, which I think would supersede Jeff Saturday. The only reason I would give bonus points to Jeff Saturday is because he had the crossbar, like old school face mask that offensive linemen used to wear. So Jeff Saturday, okay. Creed Humphrey, I think, would probably take the cake as the center name. So DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Will Shields, Forrest Lamp, Rodarius Ham, or Guy Wimper. Robert, who do you have advancing?
It's tough, but I think I got to go DeBrickashaw. If I want a guy to protect me, that's going to be the guy that makes sure no one hits me. I want him to be like a brick wall. And the closest thing I can get to that is DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
He was pretty good with the Jets. Couldn't stop the butt fumble, but there's only so much that one player can do. Okay, so now we have our all-name offense team. Offensive line, DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Bear Hunter. At the tight end spot, Jake Butt, Fat Watts, the coldest to ever do it, Crawford, are our wide receivers. Cavassier Smoke in the backfield. And quarterback for your 2022 Buck Reising Show all-name team, General Booty. We salute you. That was fun. We'll do defense on Friday. Good job, Robert.
It was a pleasure.
Okay, back to the shadows. A story on a running back who's trying to get back into the NFL right now, and a tragic circumstance that took place yesterday in a very, very vulnerable spot. We'll tell you what happened with this circumstance coming up next. All right, we've had all manner of submissions for our all-name team. Now, we love when our friends interact with the show and send us submissions of their own, with one exception, who joins us now on the line, the OG, the great one, the greatest of all time to do it in Tennessee Titans media, Jim Wyatt, TennesseeTitans.com. Jimmy, I looked at my Twitter mentions during that commercial break, and I cursed you. I cursed your name with how bad that dad joke was. Shame on you, really.
I couldn't resist. You were talking about great names, and Boo Mitchell was a great name from the mid '80s from Vanderbilt football, and he was a good player too. He had about, I think his senior year, he had about 80 catches for right at 1,200 yards. So Boo, I said, was a scary good receiver back in the mid '80s. I thought you would appreciate that. I think he's worthy of being on that team.
Now, I want you to explain to people the art of the dad joke, because Mickey Ryan does this to me, and you do this to me. I have to give you credit, Jimmy, because nobody thinks of them faster than you do. Is this just like this? This is a kind of a savant thing that you do. That this is the first thing that pops into your head when you hear something, because it drives me insane.
Yeah, and I can't use them anymore because my kids are now grown and in their 20s, and I don't appreciate the dad jokes anymore. Now they give me the same look that you do, and I use them. So I have to try a new audience, and I got some material out there. I've been kind of pent up, so it's a good opportunity to use them.
Excellent. Well, thank you for peppering me with the latest dad joke material. I'm sure that you'll workshop your next list of dad jokes on me at the next Titans press conference. Thank you, Jim.
We'll do it in Google. Boo Mitchell. You know, he used to when he catch passes, he would stand up and make the L. He made a bet with a girl named Linda back when he was in school. This is a Vanderbilt trivia for you from the mid '80s. But I think when he met a girl at maybe a homecoming dance when he was at school, her name was Linda. She said, Linda said, "Boo, you don't play football. There's no way you play football." He said, "We'll come to the game tomorrow, and every time I catch a pass, I'm gonna hold my arms up to make it look like an L for you." And I think he caught about 10, 12 passes that day. And he went on to catch maybe 80 during the season, and he'd make that L for Linda every time he did it.
So not just a frighteningly good wide receiver, but a romantic at heart. You love to see it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Have a great day, Buck.
Hang on, Jim, can I test your Vanderbilt trivia knowledge really quickly?
Yes, I hope I pass.
Who is the only Vanderbilt running back in school history to lead the SEC in rushing after a season?
How about Frank Mordecai in 1973?
It is Doug Matthews in 1969.
Stump the Schwab with Jim Wyatt. You didn't think we were going to put you to work today when you tweeted us, Jimmy. Don't do it again.
Let's do it, man. I should have gotten that one. Sorry about that, Doug, if you're listening.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
At J Wyatt Sports is where you can find him. That delights me. I don't know what is it weird that this is probably somebody's probably going to make a joke at us about this, but like I do the radio show like nobody listens to the radio show. Like I'm just sitting here for 3 hours screwing around. Like that's kind of how so it always delights me when like our friends acknowledge the fact that we're doing a radio show right now. It makes me very happy. I don't know how to gracefully transition into the topic that I teased before the commercial break because there's no gentle way to do this. But I had told you that there was a really tragic incident yesterday with a former, I guess a current NFL player who is working his way, trying to get his way back into the league. Now, for many of you who have paid attention to the NFL in the last couple of years, you're familiar with the name Tariq Cohen, who's a former Bears running back. He's currently not on a roster at this point. He was released by the Bears in March because he's had past injuries. So he is doing something that a lot of players do, which is post videos on Instagram or Twitter or whichever the preferred social media platform is of their workout regimen. And, this is something that I think Titans fans identify with very, very much because Derrick Henry is always doing insanely athletic and incredible superhuman feats of strength on Instagram and posting them to kind of keep you engaged during the offseason and kind of let you know what progress Derrick is making in his workout routine. Well, so what Tariq Cohen did is like the worst case scenario of this. He suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon during a training session that he live streamed on his Instagram account. So there's no like barrier between this. There's no dump button. Like if I say a bad word and Lucas doesn't want it to get out over the airwaves, he's got 20 seconds worth of delay between the time that I say the word and the time that the word gets out actually over the air. So everything that you're hearing from us is actually on a 20-second delay in real time. So this is unfiltered, uncensored. I did not watch the video. I did not seek out the video because I find that stuff to be hugely grotesque. But Robert said that he did watch the video. In fact, can we put Robert on the microphone back there, Lucas? Or is he? Yeah, let's put Robert on the microphone because Robert did, in fact, watch this video. Robert, can you detail, without getting too graphic, what exactly you saw in the Tariq Cohen video?
Yeah, so he was chopping his feet, doing like a little running back drill, like the ladder drill without the ladder. And it just, you heard like a, and he fell in pain. And it was just grotesque. And I wish I would not have watched it.
I don't know whether this is this is obviously just a really, really bad circumstance. We've not seen anything like this happen before. But something about the need to have this stuff out there and to push it further, right? Where you have Instagram Live is a great tool. If you're using it in fun ways that are engaging. It can also work to your detriment if you're AJ Brown, who's all doped up on drugs, and you have 2 knee scopes, and you pop on your Instagram Live while your nurse is trying to give you fluids and walk you through what your post-op situation is going to be in real time. You're live streaming it on your phone. Now, that's not something that caused AJ great detriment other than for him to be hugely embarrassed about it after the fact. But just the idea that this stuff like this is out there and that we're seeing more of it. Nothing quite this graphic. I mean, the percentage chance of you seeing somebody rupture their Achilles in real time on an IG Live is almost next to none, but horrifying in real time. I as somebody who is way overactive on social media, I can't tell people to post less on social media, but this would seem to be a really, really good example of just it doesn't all have to be out there, even if it is appealing to some of the people who you're trying to reach. Anyway,
I was pretty happy that like the big accounts avoided that. Like they all said, "I'm not going to post the video," which was pretty good on them.
Yeah, and if you have an interest in stuff like that, it's out there for you. But I did appreciate the fact that I did not seeing it continually retweeted or posted on my timeline or on my Instagram and things of that nature, because now people are asking me in the YouTube chat, where can I find this video? Sickos.
Hey, you animals.
Sickos, just the worst. Okay. Dumbest thing in sports this week. It's a Wednesday. We'll do that coming up next.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. Conference finals underway in the NBA playoffs. Starting off in the East last night, Game 1 between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. Miami rallied to outscore Boston 39-14 in the third to win 118-107. Jimmy Butler led the way with 41 points. Game 1 coming up tonight between Dallas and Golden State in the Western Conference. In the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning handled the Florida Panthers 4-1. The Avalanche defeating the Blues 3-2 in overtime last night in Game 1 of that second round series. College baseball, the final non-conference game of the regular season was played out by both top-ranked Tennessee and the Vandy boys, and both were in-state matchups as Tennessee beat the Belmont Bruins 18-0 in Knoxville. Vols now 46-7 for the season. Vanderbilt defeated Middle Tennessee 7-2. Both will head into their final SEC series of the regular season before the SEC tournament picks up in Hoover. Former Giants cornerback James Bradberry has his landing spot, signing a one-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles for $10 million. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, we got hour number 2 off and rolling. Happy to have you guys here for today's show. If you're just now jumping in, welcome. We're here with you till 1. If you've been hanging out with us, perhaps send us a quarterback name for the all-name team, and thank you for hanging out. We're happy to have you here as well. Lucas and Robert, back there making the thing go. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved, because it is time for your involvement. It is time for the dumbest thing in sports. We do it every Wednesday. You can jump in if you like. I need you to tell me what the dumbest thing in sports was this week. Go ahead and hit the music.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
What the is this?
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some more now.
something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
You are really dumb. For real.
It's the dumbest thing in sports this week on the Buck Reising Show.
Indeed it is. There are many dumb things in the world of sports. We want you to give us the dumbest thing that you have seen come across your social media timeline, your Sports Center scroll, whatever fits your fancy. As long as it's dumb, we'll take it. 615-737-1045. Lucas, Robert, do you have dumb things in sports that you would like to nominate this week? All right, very good. We'll get to those momentarily. But allow me to start the proceedings. Now, this comes to us courtesy of USA Today, but Brett Batchelor, who works on all of the shows and does a lot of stuff for us digitally, sent this to us at 9:30 last night. The headline: Arizona State won't let the Coyotes use their logo at center ice in their embarrassing arena deal. So this is apparently an ongoing situation where the Coyotes are getting a new arena. The Coyotes, an NHL team, for those of you unfamiliar. But apparently it has been a laughingstock the way that this situation has gone through. They're going to play their home hockey games for the foreseeable future at Arizona State after their previous arena deal with the city of Glendale, Arizona fell through. So that's 41 games a year in a college hockey arena for at least multiple seasons. Not one season, not like half a season. Multiple seasons is what the Arizona Coyotes are going to have to do. There is a report from The Athletic. Katie Strang and Sean Shapiro outlined a quote-unquote good behavior clause for the Coyotes and owner Alex Morello. It said that if the Coyotes become a part of a public scandal or do anything untoward, that reflects poorly on the ASU brand, the Arizona State brand, by the way, which is most famous, not for, the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, not for any of its distinguished alumni, but for the fact that it's one of the most drunk and drug-addled universities that we have. It's a known party school. I had a couple of friends go to ASU. There is nothing educational about that place other than, how many drugs to do or not do at any given pool party on any given day, and how much clothing to wear or not wear at said pool parties. That's basically the Arizona State experience. So, if the Coyotes do anything to embarrass the very reputable brand of Arizona State, the school will back out of the deal. So, if didn't the Coyotes have some kind of issues a couple of years ago with an ownership situation that caused them some problems? I'd have to go back and look at the details. I remember the Coyotes being in the news for something that was less than flattering in the last, I think, 5 years. I'll have to go back and find the details on this. But apparently, a good behavior clause is what Arizona is requiring. The Coyotes, okay, so here is the details on that. They have a less than favorable reputation around the league. They have skimped on rent payments to the city of Glendale. This was the thing, Lucas. They knowingly drafted a player who admitted to racially abusing a teammate a couple of years ago. And that was something that caused great scandal. They knew about it, and they drafted the kid anyway. So this is the dumb part. The Coyotes won't be able to use their logo at center ice in Arizona State's arena. The in-ice advertising will be a revenue source for Arizona State, and the Coyotes aren't allowed to modify the look of the ice surface, including the Arizona State logo at center ice, on broadcast to protect ASU's permanent advertisers in the building. It is noted that this doesn't and shouldn't impact opposing broadcasts filming at ASU.
They just don't want any of that bad juju from the worst team in hockey.
They don't want anything to do with the Arizona Coyotes, who they're going to let live in their arena for multiple seasons while they try to figure out where the hell else to play. What a bleep show.
That's so disrespectful.
It is. They said, you are not good enough for Arizona State's hockey arena, which, by the way, good on Arizona State for having a hockey arena. That's not something that I had.
It sounds like it should be flipped, right? That Arizona State is borrowing the Coyotes arena, and they're saying, no, you can't put your logo in our NHL arena, where Arizona State is doing the same thing to the worst team in hockey.
Lucas, what's the dumbest thing in sports this week?
The dumbest thing in sports this week for me, to be clear, is not Nick Saban. Nick Saban will never be my dumbest thing in sports this week. I have a great respect and admiration for Nick Saban, despite how much pain he has caused my alma mater's football team over the course of the last 15 or so years. My dumbest thing in sports this week is what Nick Saban said this week on the Paul Feinbaum show about college football and how it needs to get back to parity.
Well, I think one of the things that I'd like to see us be able to work back to is, everything in college football has always had parity. Same scholarship, same academic support, healthcare, whatever it is. And, I don't think we have that balance right now, which could affect, the parity of college football and college athletics as a whole. So, and I know we got a lot of good people working on it, and I'm sure they'll come up with a good solution for us.
I struggle to think of a sport that has had less parity historically than college football. I struggle to think of a program that has caused more lack of parity in college football than Nick Saban in Alabama in the last couple of decades. I'm not trying to blame Nick Saban for that. He's just winning. What do you want him to do? He's the best coach in college football history, but Nick Saban, come on. That's been historically in college football the biggest focal point of college football, whether it was Nebraska and Notre Dame being the only ones on television for decades. So they were the ones that got all the big-time prospects. Or whether right now it's Alabama with all the resources that they have and the best coaching staff in college football with this dynasty that we've seen over the last decade and a half. Parity has never and will never be a thing in college football. I don't know how you go back to something that never existed in the first place.
If he'd have just phrased it a little differently, because he's right, it's going to strip away any semblance of parity that was had outside of really the Power Five, right? Like schools, and we were talking about this. Let's use Belmont as an example, right? Belmont is getting poached right now in the world of college basketball by the transfer portal and by name, image, and likeness stuff for players who can play at bigger universities and would prefer to play on bigger platforms and get more nationally televised games or just generally televised games that they won't necessarily be able to get at Belmont, even as Belmont is a hugely successful basketball program. Places like Belmont are getting poached right now. Now, in the world of college football, this is so as well. And really, even at the Power 5 level, like Power 5 programs are getting poached. So you're seeing super league type stuff already happening in college football. Nick Saban being the messenger of parity is a flawed one. That's a tough thing to kind of get across to people. He's not wrong, but it's just, it's the guy who's saying it, who's been running the sport for the better part of a decade at this point, at the highest level and dominating. If he doesn't win the championship every year, it's every other year.
Now, when Nick Saban speaks, I listen.
Sure.
Right? You value what he has to say. And I do think that NIL in the Power 5 might actually create some type of parity when you have big programs devoting resources to collectives to try and level the playing field at least a little bit. Tennessee's not getting Nico Iamaleava, probably, I don't know for sure, if you don't have some sort of NIL collective to attract that type of talent from California. Maybe they do because of Josh Heupel's offense. I don't know, but probably not because Tennessee isn't exactly known for reeling in five-star quarterbacks historically. So I do think it'll level the playing field to an extent, but outside of Power 5, you're absolutely right. It is a super league situation, but just the idea of going back to parity in college football, to me, makes zero sense.
615-737-1045 is how you nominate the dumbest thing in sports this week. If you would like, let's get some calls on the dumbest thing in sports this week coming up next.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Welcome back on this Wednesday. We're doing the dumbest thing in sports. 615-737-1045 is how you nominate the dumbest thing in sports. We'll get to the phone calls here in just a second. Lebowski has nominated on Twitter, Michelle, quote, I quit Sunday Night Football to be a full-time crazy person, end quote, Tafoya, tweeting this about Shohei Ohtani and tagging the wrong Ohtani. She was complaining about how much they were talking about Shohei Ohtani on the Angels broadcast. What is Michelle Tafoya doing, by the way? She left Sunday Night Football to go be, I think she's a political commentator now on Fox.
But what did she say about Ohtani?
Just that she was complaining. She had it's like one of those customer service tweets, like when I'm bitching at Xfinity or something like that, and just using my blue check mark to get things that I want for free. Which is a terrible habit. But she's tags at Angels broadcast. Enough with the Ohtani chatter, baseball chatter. And then tags at Bally Sports West. And the Ohtani that she has tagged is a young woman who says, I love Johan Vermeer's works, based in Japan. She has 99 followers. Not Shohei Ohtani. So she got lit up. Anyway. 615-737-1045. Tony has the dumbest thing in sports for us this week. Go ahead, Tony.
Hey, how's it going? Dumbest thing in sports this week is Mr. Patrick Beverly. How in the world can you come on to a national broadcast and say that Chris Paul is not good? Hey, Pat, sit the flip down, man. Patrick Beverly is the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Thank you for the call, Tony. He's still on television.
Oh, they're not going to let him go.
We're 3 days in. Do you think he's staying at a hotel somewhere in Connecticut to live on the ESPN campus? It's insane.
Oh, he said that about CP3, and then ESPN people sat down and said, we can't let him out of here.
we physically cannot let him leave the set of First Take. They've got him chained to a desk on the First Take set. Stephen A's not even there today. Stephen A's in Miami because of where was game one played? Was it in Boston or Miami?
It was in Miami.
Okay, so Stephen A's in Miami. Pat Bev is still chained to the desk at First Take because they're saying, okay, if you'll say this about Chris Paul, the point guard, what else will you say about whichever other athlete we put in front of you? Goodness. He has been I don't know how to describe it because Slay's going to be on with us at 12:20, and Slay and I were talking about this off the air. I'm sure it was brought up yesterday when he did Jason and Ramon's show. But Slay was very, very dismissive of Pat Beverly. And while I disagree with his sentiments on Chris Paul, even though I think Chris Paul to be kind of a fraud. I'll be honest with you. I really do. I think Chris Paul is kind of a fraud. You can't give me greatest point guard of all time who was in the NBA Finals last year and who gets bounced at home by pudgy Luka Doncic. It's just, you can't let the person who looks like that beat your ass the way that the Mavs did. Luka outscored their entire team.
Luka's a stone cold killer.
Sure. But he's also, he looks like you or me playing rec. He doesn't look like you or me playing rec league basketball as far as his skill set is concerned, but he physically has the body of somebody who plays rec league basketball and just hoops on you at the Y.
He beat him so bad the Suns had to put out a statement.
This is kind of like the Ryan Tannehill thing, right? And then I'll let Mentorgate go for the end of time. I promise you I will. Ryan Tannehill says the thing, right, that gets all the headlines on SportsCenter. And all it is just an honest appraisal from a quarterback about the situation that his team has just put him in because they drafted another quarterback. And so Ryan Tannehill gives the answer and people lose their minds, right? People bury Ryan Tannehill. People defend Ryan Tannehill. People just constantly taking an extreme position on what it is that Ryan Tannehill said, which has zero impact on the locker room, zero impact on his coaching staff, zero impact on the quarterback who is drafted behind him now to sit behind him and Malik Willis. It's honesty from professional athletes that people who don't work in professional athletic spaces can't handle it. It's so bizarre to me This is like, so just to use our own example here, right? We've got 3 former professional athletes who work on the Zone's airwaves. We've got Slay, we've got Ramon, and we've got Blaine. Now, Blaine's been working in this space for a long, long time at this point. Ramon and Slay are largely new to it. It is funny to talk to any of those 3 guys about just how insecure the media world is as compared to an athlete's locker room, where they're not bothered by any of this nonsense. They're not bothered by what Pat Beverly said. Okay, fine. If Pat Beverly feels that kind of way about Chris Paul, then it's Chris Paul's prerogative to go out there and beat Pat Bev's ass on a basketball court, right? If Ramon Foster is getting chirped at by a rookie offensive lineman who comes in to eventually take his place with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's not going to bother Ramon. Ramon's going to be like, all right, Rook, I see you, and then outwork him, outblock him, outdo all of the things that make Ramon Foster who he is to have lasted, over a decade in the NFL. Slay the same. It is such a... It's funny to talk to athletes about this, former athletes in particular, who get around media spaces and see, oh, this is nothing like the place where I work, because all of you are so fragile and so reactive to words that are said when they're just words. The actions matter vastly more. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially in a workplace like ours, where, for example, Lucas is perpetually trying to undercut me en route to taking my job. It's a thing, right? Now, that's gonna get in my head. That's gonna do things to me that would never happen to a professional athlete, because I work in media, and just as a result, I'm wildly insecure about my position and things that are being said about anybody around me at any given time. Hell, if I open my Twitter mentions and melt my face off. This is how we're programmed in sports media. Now, I say that largely in jest, and Lucas is sneering back there and nodding and rubbing his hands together vigorously as he plots my demise. Now, people in the YouTube chat are disagreeing with us, and if you want to talk about this, 615-737-1045. Tomahawk says, literally every other industry works this way. Imagine being in sales and paid on commission and having to pool your commissions and then dividing them out equally. Oh. Apparently, Lucas is telling me in my ear that he's talking about something else.
Tomahawk is talking about the equal pay between U.S. men's national team and U.S. women's national team.
What? What the hell? How did we get there? The Zone TV chat does a show unto itself. It's very disorienting for me, who's trying to keep a radio show on the rails. Robert, what's the dumbest thing in sports this week? Do you have one?
I do, but I had to change it after you poo-pooed all over Chris Paul. So I'm going to stand up for Winston-Salem. I'm going to stand up for Chris Paul and tell you why Chris Paul is the unluckiest player in NBA history. So to start out, he gets drafted by the Pelicans. They don't want him. Send him to the Clippers, who at the time are the least progressive team in the NBA, having 2 stars in Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, who just dunk. They didn't really have – they had Jamal Crawford who could shoot the 3, but not the most progressive team. He flames out there – or before that, he gets denied a trade to play with Kobe Bryant and the Lakers.
Yes.
A team that would have dominated. They poo-pooed that, sent him back to the Clippers.
How are you saying poo-pooed?
Poo-pooed.
Okay.
Poo-pooed. He gets sent to the Rockets.
This is like the way I say raccoon.
Raccoon and poo-pooed. He gets sent to the Rockets to play with a – James Harden, who is not really a team player. Then he gets traded to Oklahoma City to die. He takes that team to the playoffs.
It's true.
With one of the worst rosters ever. Then he gets sent to Phoenix. They have 2 of the greatest regular seasons in Suns history, and then they flame out because the team around him is dancing before their finals game rather than getting their mind right. I nominate Chris Paul as the unluckiest player in NBA and potentially sports history. He deserves a ring, and I feel terrible for him, despite kicking multiple people in their groins.
People don't feel bad for Chris Paul.
I feel bad for Chris Paul. He should have been dominant, and he's never gotten the opportunity. He's fallen short every time.
Back to the shadows with your homerism. Chris Paul poo-pooed.
Poo-pooed.
It makes me very happy. I don't know why. It's just a funny phrase. Kenneth Krall says Robert didn't even mention the trade, Dave. No, he did mention the trade to the Lakers that didn't end up materializing. Kenneth Krall on YouTube. There is a lot of justification for Chris Paul and his legacy and all these different things around why it is that the Suns choked so badly in the NBA playoffs. And be fascinated to get Slay's perspective on this. Buckethead immediately tweets us. Oh, by the way, why is the dumbest thing in sports this week poll just going out 4 minutes ago on Twitter? Did you do that?
Yeah.
Did you forget?
Yeah, I forgot to put that one out. Had a lot going on this morning.
Is this going to be a problem with you and me? With this podcast that you're doing that's distracting you from your duties?
Every once in a while, I got to do it in the morning.
All right, you want to tell people who's on the podcast this week what I'm talking about, that I'm complaining about, because now the dumbest thing in sport, because it's coming from my Twitter account, and it looks like I'm not paying attention to my own radio show?
Oh, is this the dumbest thing in sports this week now?
Your podcast?
That I forgot to put out this poll because of my podcast? Because if so, that's great. Gives me an opportunity to plug it. Inside Zone, available wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, detailing journeys, origin stories from the people that work in this building. The first episode is out with Ron Slay talking about his journey through the University of Tennessee and professional basketball in Europe. The episode with Titans radio executive producer Rhett Bryan comes out on Monday, and I taped an episode this morning with a very special guest that will come out in a couple of weeks. That's Inside Zone, wherever you get your podcast.
God, that is so obnoxious. Lebowski writes on YouTube, can't take Buck's job if you won't do your own, Lucas. My God. He's right. That's the dumbest thing in sports this week. In the meantime, there is an interesting story that was put out yesterday, or an interesting news item that was put out yesterday about a new 30 for 30 that is getting ready to come out. Now, the subject of this was published by the ESPN press room yesterday. ESPN Films has announced it's doing a 30 for 30 documentary on the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Now, I can only imagine what Titans fans' reactions to this would be, because not only is that one of the most hated squads in NFL history, not only is that one of the most disliked franchises locally by Tennessee Titans fans, but that directly runs up against the best Titans teams that we have ever seen, right? At the very, very beginning of the Titans era here in Nashville, with Ray Lewis versus Eddie George and the AFC Central and all the great battles that were had there, back and forth and back and forth. ESPN Films announced that they had just started production on the 30 for 30 documentary that, in the words of the ESPN press room, will take viewers inside the world of one of the most notorious football teams to ever play the game. Here's my question. Do you think they're going to cover Ray Lewis's murder trial that wasn't proven to be a murder in the 30 for 30? Because I don't know that they won't, but I have to think that if Ray Lewis is agreeing to this, that there are going to be certain things in place legally that Ray is going to say, yeah, you can't ask me about those things because I'm not going to tell you about those things because those are legally, those are in the books. Now you can't. What's the legal precedent? We need to call Dan Lust just for legal terminology because I'm not smart and I don't know any of these things. What is it called when a case has already been tried and you can't go back and reopen it?
Double
basically.
Jeopardy?
Is that right?
That's what Robert said.
So we're just taking Robert's been here for 3 weeks. You're just taking his word. Robert shows up on your doorstep, already starts doing your job better than you, and now you're just taking his word for gospel. He could be trying to undermine you there. He could be trying to put you out in a place where you are vulnerable, in the same way that Ray Lewis may or may not have put somebody out in a place where
that would have been a good move by Robert. But double jeopardy does prohibit different prosecutions for the same offense.
Okay, so that makes sense. Good job on Robert. Do you think they're going to cover it? You can't tell the story of that Ravens team and Ray Lewis without that.
That was the preseason, right? That was the summer before that season. You can't ignore it.
Here's why I'm skeptical of all of this. I'm skeptical because what I watch. So, did you two, Robert and Lucas, did you like the Michael Jordan 30 for 30? Like 6 parts The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Did you guys like that? I'm getting a head nod from Robert. I'm getting a little meh.
He gave you the meh. I very much enjoyed it. I just thought it was very well done. It sucked me in, and I watched every minute of it.
Now, I did too, but not because I thought it to be overwhelmingly good. I did because it was the only thing that we had in sports in the time, because ESPN rushed that to air because we had nothing. That was at the time when the NBA Finals had gone down in COVID flames. The NHL was put on pause. We were in there was a lot of uncertainty at the time around this stuff. Puka points out it not during the preseason. It happened during Super Bowl week, Titans and Rams. Ray Lewis being, that's right.
That's right. The incident happened during Super Bowl week.
Because, there's some details on that from Greg Cody at the Miami Herald, because I think that Super Bowl wasn't in Miami. I'd have to go back.
It was in Atlanta. It was at the Georgia Dome.
Right. So there's some stuff around the reporting on that, like people who were with Ray Lewis at the time, journalists documenting some of that stuff. But so here's my thing. The Last Dance was a necessary evil for me because I didn't find it to be that interesting. Michael Jordan, the most that I remember of like Michael as a player was with the Wizards, not with the Bulls. It was a far gone, Mike's the height of Mike, we were in diapers. Basically, as a radio show. I don't know how old Robert is, but like Lucas and I, that's not there for us. So basically, we've just been living on ghost stories and first take debate topics about why MJ is better than LeBron or why LeBron is better than MJ. So it was a good resource to kind of learn about that time period and why people regard Michael Jordan as somebody who does more than just like the Hanes bacon neck t-shirt commercials, but as an actual superstar athlete who was at the top of his profession and at the height of celebrity. Because I don't have a good frame of reference for that. But what it left me with was, he has final say on all of this. This is not the most true and honest representation of Michael Jordan. There's not hugely unflattering stories about Michael Jordan being told in this because it's a Gatorade, Jordan brand, Nike 6-part commercial that I'm watching with a few funny Dennis Rodman moments thrown in between and some wild and wacky hand signals from Dennis Rodman when he's talking about how it is that he rebounds. I was left thoroughly unimpressed with it. That's why I didn't watch Man in the Arena. Now, I heard that Man in the Arena is good, but I don't know how to run that through my prism. Because I think that what they're doing with Tom Brady is the same thing that they did with Jordan, which is just kind of okay. Like, I get Tom's side. I want what HBO did with Tiger Woods, which Tiger Woods had zero involvement in, but they told the story of Tiger Woods' rise and downfall so much more effective in 2 parts than anything I saw from Jordan in 6, or I think Tom Brady's is 9, and there's a Derek Jeter one coming out that Jeter isn't going to let them have. I mean, what is Jeter going to talk about? All the gift baskets from women that he had relationships with across his career as one of the biggest and best stars in the New York media market? Of course not. Of course that's not going to happen because that's unflattering to Jeter. It's why, who's my guy that's suing HBO now and that's threatening to take it to the Supreme Court?
Jerry West.
Jerry West. It's like Jerry West and Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar not liking Winning Time. Now, it's a little different. Because,
and Magic is coming out with his own version.
Right. That's my point. Magic is saying, no, I don't like the unflattering portrayal of me in Winning Time, but here, you can watch my retelling of my version of events on Apple Plus. And athletes who have these platforms, we've talked about this before, right? It's an overcorrection. Media have been able to tell the stories of athletes without the athletes having any say over it for decades before social media took place. And now with LeBron and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and so many other athletes of superstar caliber, the Players Tribune, right? Getting their opportunity to tell their own version of events with a bigger platform than most of the media members that cover them. That's the reason why I look at this Ravens 30 for 30 thing and like, I don't know. I don't think much of. I don't know, but I'm coming into this warily Because if you don't tell the story of Ray Lewis and the murder trial around Ray Lewis on Super Bowl week in Atlanta, then you're leaving out some of the most, tragic, but also compelling and honest retelling of that version of events. I'm already jaded when it comes to this ESPN stuff. And it's not just ESPN that's doing this, by the way. I don't want this to sound like I'm attacking ESPN. It's just, I think that's generally, because ESPN's a media partner, right? And we get accused of this with the Titans on a much, much smaller level of people needing to cheerlead the Titans because we have Titans radio rights, right? And, I don't think that's the case, but you are allowed to make your judgments unto yourself. I think I actively fight against stuff like that because I don't like it. I'm not interested in that. It's not interesting to do that kind of content. If it was beneficial to me, maybe I'd do it. I don't know, but I don't think it's any good. Anyway, now I'm getting many, many DMs about how off I am. Michael Gallant has DM, come on, bro, way off on the Jordan doc. No, I'm not. I watched a 6-hour Gatorade Nike brand, Jordan brand commercial.
Well, you didn't learn anything?
Sure, there was stuff to be learned, but I didn't learn the full story. I want the reporting. I want the details. I want the stuff that's I don't want who's the general manager? Jerry Krause.
Yep.
I don't want a Jerry Krause hit piece across 6 episodes because Michael's still pissed at him. You know?
Yeah, no, that aspect of it, I 100% agree. But then you have things like the Scottie Pippen incident of not wanting to come into the game. And you hear from Steve Kerr. You hear from other teammates. You hear from Scottie Pippen.
But Michael wasn't, there was nothing around Michael that was any kind of dangerous, right? Other than the flu game being bad pizza? Shut up.
Yeah, they talked about the rumors about his gambling, or people trying to create rumors about his gambling having something to do with his father's death, and he talked about how ridiculous that was. But you're right, nothing that painted him in a bad light, obviously. Although you could make judgments for yourself based on some of the practice footage with Michael and how he treated some of his teammates sometimes.
Because people are making the argument to me, there's nothing incorrect about the Jordan doc. He was actually in the doc. I don't want him in the doc. I want people telling the stories around him, that we're doing the journalism around him. I don't give a damn about what Michael Jordan has to say about his own legacy, respectfully. I don't give a damn about what Tom Brady has to say about his own legacy, respectfully. I want the people who are going to give the most honest and true and sometimes uncomfortable version of events. And I know damn sure the athletes, the megastars, who are basically corporations unto themselves, aren't going to do that. We can talk about this coming up next. Your phone call, 615-737-1045. If you would like to jump in on the conversation, I'm Buck Reising. This is 1045 The Zone. All right, I'm getting dragged. It's a losing position. I understand how I feel about The Last Dance. I fought this battle in real time. It's been 2 years since that godforsaken thing came out, and still people won't even listen to my side of the argument that I felt that The Last Dance was complete and total propaganda for basically 6 hours of Michael Jordan getting to tell his story the way that Michael Jordan wants to tell his story. And I understand it's his prerogative. He wants to be able to do it the way that he wants to do it. I lose. I lose that every time. But T-Bull22 has tweeted us because I said, I want people who did the reporting around it in any of these things, right? Whether it's Jordan, Brady, Jeter. I thought the Tiger Woods one was exceptional. If you don't have HBO, hell, it's worth getting like a month-long HBO pass just to check that thing out because it was so well done. But I had said that I want the people who did the honest reporting around it. And T-Bull tweets us, you just put media and honest and true in the same sentence. That's another thing that I lose on 10 times out of 10. Like, I totally understand that I have a losing position about media in today's day and age, even as I'm media, right? I'm the big bad media guy. And journalism is something that has never been, is it fair for me to say journalism's like good journalism has never been less relevant? Can I say that? And people agree with that position? It doesn't make me happy.
Maybe it's never been more important.
I agree with that as well, right?
Because of the saturation.
But it is because, we get into misinformation stuff. Hell, we just went into this with the Titans schedule, right? With that guy who was trolling everybody on the internet. He got 10,000 followers in 2 days because he's just tweeting out random games across the NFL, the 2022 NFL schedule, and people just running with it, right? So when I say that, I don't want to phrase it that way because it does matter. It does matter. But it's never been less relevant by the people who are consuming it. Or who are consuming it in different ways or consuming it in different spaces and all these different things. It used to be, not to do a back in my day thing, but like you used to take things like things that were reported on as near gospel, right? Which is why athletes are pissed about this stuff because some of it wasn't. And there was no way to push back on it. There was no Players Tribune. There was no 30 for 30. There was none of this. So, because Jason Erickson brings up every journalist wants a hot take these days, whether it's true or not. And that, I think, is where the line is blurred. Because technically, I'm a journalist, right? I'm a Titans reporter. Like, that's the roots of why it is that I get to do these things that I do and why people continue to, pay me money to do things like talking to a microphone and things like that, which is great. Because I have institutional knowledge of the team that I cover. But at the same time, if you're good at these things, and I'm not talking about me, not to inflate my ego or anything like that, but if you're good at one of the things in today's media environment, you're probably going to be asked to do more, right? If you are a good reporter and writer, then people will want your opinion on things because you have knowledge of the thing that you cover. And so now your opinion is of value. When you have an opinion, you're no longer a true blue, like by definition, journalist. Because journalists aren't supposed to have opinions on things or aren't at least supposed to publicly express them, which is what I do for 3 hours a day. You see where the lines are getting blurred? So if you're good at it, if you're good at one of these things, people are going to ask you to do more of them. So now I'm in a position, just to use me as the example for you guys, where I'm a reporter, I'm a writer, I'm a talk show host, I have opinions, I do a film podcast, and I do a Titans Media Roundtable podcast, right? And a lot of it is predicated on what I think. And that strays from where these things are going. So when you put those things, when you put it that way, as long as you're being transparent about it, I think people will still gravitate towards it. But yeah, I mean, the journalism on good quality journalism stuff, it's never been less rewarding for people who are doing it, and it's never been more important across any spectrum. Derek says, Buck wants the drama. The worse drama, the better the story. And here's what I'll say, Derek. Like, and this is on the Zone TV chat. You can interact with us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. That's not entirely false. Like, you guys remember going into the draft weekend, right? Where I said, I'm rooting for as many different things, as many things to happen as humanly possible that gives me good content coming out of the draft. And what happened? The football gods answered my prayers. Your best player got traded away to the Eagles. What? So I got a whole Friday out of that. And then on Friday, after the radio show finishes, you go through the draft weekend, and what else happens? You draft a quarterback in the third round. And not just a quarterback, but you draft the quarterback who was potentially going to go 6th overall. You got him in the third round. So, like, this is manna from content heaven for me. And you're right. Like, I root for compelling stories. I root for compelling conversations. Now, that does kind of blur the lines even further, right? Where I don't find much about the Jordan experience to be compelling because it's been sanitized through Michael Jordan's prism, which is kind of my whole point about this. So, you're constantly in this kind of conflict of things, and I think people, it wears on people who consume it because they just want somebody to tell them the truth, right? And so often now that gets muddled by everything in between. Anyway, Derek says Buck strays from hot takes. I don't think he likes to be wrong. Well, nobody likes to be wrong. Who the hell wants to be wrong? I don't want to be wrong. I'm not actively seeking to be wrong for 3 hours a day. Now, if I am wrong, I'll tell you that I'm wrong, and we can talk about where it is that I got things wrong. But yeah, I don't do hot takes. Well, I mean, sometimes I do. I have opinions about things. But like record predictions, you're never going to get me to do a record prediction ever. One, because it's useless. Two, because who the hell knows and who cares? Other than, it's a fun thing to do with your friends once the schedule comes out. All right. There is news on the Titans and Derrick Henry and some details about his contract that I think you're going to want to hear. We're going to tell you what that is coming up next.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. One NFL transaction from earlier today. Former Giants cornerback James Bradbury has his landing spot. The 28-year-old signs a one-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles worth $10 million. NBA playoff action tonight. The Western Conference Finals. The Dallas Mavericks head to the Golden State Warriors for Game 1. An 8 p.m. tip-off. In the NHL, second-round action continues in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Rangers at the Hurricanes at 6 p.m. and Game 1 between the Oilers and Flames at 8:30. The Nashville Sounds back at it tonight. They are 25-11, taking on the Louisville Bats at First Horizon Park. First pitch will come from 3HL's own Ron Slay, and the actual first pitch set for 6:35. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour's already here on this Wednesday. Welcome in. Happy to have you for about 50 more minutes here on 104.5 The Zone. If you're just now joining us, welcome in. I'm Buck Reising. We do this thing from 10 to 1 each and every weekday. Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh back there making it happen. Ron Slay is in some form or fashion going to be here in about 15 minutes from now, so we'll look forward to chopping it up with Slay in just a minute. You can get involved if you like. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045 is how you join our conversations each and every day. So, there is a little bit of news, not a ton, but an interesting detail that Jeremy Fowler at ESPN put into his ESPN Plus column this morning. So it's behind a paywall. More and more of that, by the way. Have you noticed that ESPN's putting more and more stuff behind the paywall?
Just ESPN Plus subscriptions, right?
Yeah, it's so that's what I mean when I say paywall.
Right.
But like a lot of their substantive reporting is being put behind the paywall now. Which, by the way, I think is I mean, they should have done it. It's a whole thing that screwed newspapers, right? You were giving everybody your stuff for free online, and then all of a sudden decided to put it behind the paywall and tried to convince people, this thing you've been getting for free, I'll pay $6 a month for it. Nobody's ever going to do that. It's unfortunate because I think people should be willing to pay for good journalism, but whatever. So, NFL contract updates, the latest on Lamar Jackson, DK Metcalf, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and other players looking for new big money deals. Now, you would say, well, the only one who this would be applicable to in Tennessee would be Jeff Simmons, right? And Jeff Simmons is mentioned as a part of this column. He goes through, it's probably about 25 players that he's cycling through for updates. What he says of Jeffrey Simmons, now this isn't the headline, but what he says about Jeffrey Simmons is this. Simmons has emerged as a top defensive tackle, and the Titans have no problem paying front seven guys. Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, Danico Autry all make big veteran money. Keep an eye on this situation. Yeah, so nothing earth-shattering there. But as you scroll down through the way that he's got this column metered out, he has a wild card section. And at the top of the wild card section is Derrick Henry, who's not a free agent until 2024, an unrestricted free agent until 2024. So what he writes of Derrick, he has 2 years left on his current contract, and running backs typically don't get paid early. But I'm hearing that the Titans are at least open to a possible new deal with Henry. His salaries of $12 million, well, let's just do it by cap hit. His cap hit of $15 million this year and $15.5 next year are substantial. The Titans could lessen those two cap hits by extending him by a year or two. They could build in escape hatches if Henry declines in his 30s. But right now, Henry is still considered the game's top running back. That's a pretty interesting detail because what we talked about with Corey Curtis yesterday is a conversation that's being had, across the league about Derrick. What happens to him this year? What is the development in this arc of Derrick Henry's career story where you're talking about the most usage of any running back in the league by a mile since Mike Vrabel became the head coach in 2018. Now we know that even in Mike's first year, Derrick really wasn't the full-time starter until about halfway through the season, where David flew. It's something that is seared into my memory that the fact that there was a portion of Titans football under Mike Vrabel where David Fluellen was getting snaps over Derrick. What a time to be alive. But as you look at the circumstance for Derrick, you're saying, okay, is it worth keeping him around on a second contract, even if he's slightly less than the player that we are accustomed to seeing? Even slightly less of the game breaker that has made him such a marquee attraction. Because $15 million against the cap is a lot of damn money for a running back, even as special as Derrick is. Now you would say, well, who else are you going to pay with that money? And I would look at Hassan Haskins and whatever would come at the future of running back post Derrick in the Titans' career and say, or in the Titans' trajectory and say, yeah, you can largely figure it out. Because what did we all learn last year? Can anybody tell me? Lucas, what was the biggest takeaway that you had from the Titans season last year?
That A.J. Brown was the most valuable piece of the Tennessee Titans offense last season.
And it wasn't close, right? The difference that A.J. made, because now, part of this is because they were so A.J. dependent that the passing game completely fell apart when A.J. wasn't there. But that the running game was largely outside of what Derrick does inside the 20s, which is incredibly valuable because that's where the points are scored. You're not scoring points between the 20s. You're scoring points inside the 20s. So you can't discount the fact that he's a skyscraper of a running back who can fall forward for the 2 yards you need to get into the end zone. And that, even if his overwhelming speed at that size starts to fade, that you can still get that out of Derrick inside the 20s. It just, it may not look like 60, 70 yards breakaway touchdown runs. All this stuff, I think, is fascinating because depending on how much Derrick Henry wants to make in his future, I think that you could find a solution that's equitable for everybody, that keeps Derrick Henry home, that lessens his salary cap hit, that provides the opportunity for somebody to become more of the feature or focal point of the Titans offense, and to look at this and say, yeah, there is a solution that makes sense here, even as Derrick might be a depreciating asset. And make no mistake, Derrick is a depreciating asset. It doesn't mean that he's not great. That doesn't mean that you have to love him any less. That doesn't mean that you can't still scream for him when he runs out of the tunnel on Sundays at Nissan Stadium. I'm not telling you any of those things. Almost every player, to a certain degree, on a second contract, is a depreciating asset, unless you're a quarterback. Which is why I kind of had the argument yesterday that, yeah, I think it's infinitely easier for them to justify salvaging Ryan Tannehill beyond this year as opposed to Derrick Henry. But if you can find an equitable solution for everybody that makes the money less, the way that they did on the first deal, right, where Derrick made below market for a running back. Some of that was impacted by the fact that he was negotiating this in the middle of the pandemic, like the peak of the pandemic, and that nothing was certain. And so he may have felt more inclined to take a deal that was less than Zeke Elliott or Christian McCaffrey or who else? Alvin Kamara. But to look at Derrick and say, yeah, there's still plenty usefulness for him here. It just may not be in future seasons what you envision the Derrick Henry experience to be. I think you can find that. I think you can find that fairly easily, especially if both sides are willing. And that's all that Fowler is saying. I'm hearing that the Titans are at least open to a possible new deal with Henry. And on that face value, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. 615-737-1045 is how you can react to that. If you like, Ron Slay of 3HL is going to be in here as well. We'll talk about some playoff basketball. The game one of the Eastern Conference Finals took place last night, and it was a pretty interesting result. Slay's next.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Indeed it is. Many thanks to our friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. I'm actually going to the Nashville Soccer Club game against Atlanta United on Saturday with our friends from Spring Hill AC. Springhillac.com is where you go. So Ron Slay will be here momentarily. We're going to make fun of him because apparently he lied to you, didn't he?
Lied to me.
Lied to your face or lied to you via text?
Lied to me virtually.
That's easier to do. What do we want to do? What is that? What the hell is this?
This kind got no room.
What the hell is this?
This kind got no room.
Wait, why is he sprinting? He's in the hole. Oh my God!
Look at Black Bird. Look at Black Bird.
What the hell is happening?
Let's go.
He's screaming. Oh, you smell fantastic, by the way. You're very welcome. Nobody can hear you when you're thanking me for complimenting your smell.
Let's go.
Ron Slay is officially in here. Now, he told me, Lucas did. This is a new open, by the way.
You like that?
I do like it. Who put that together for you?
I got some reps, man. One goes by. I can't really tell my reps, but since this, Gordy B did it. Rick
Okay.
Gordy B.
We love to see it.
That's my man.
Why are you running around the building? I thought you were going to be on the phone. I thought we were giving you the day off.
I was.
What happened? Lucas told me you lied to him.
I want to piss you off. I want you to make.
We lied to you.
Yeah, we lied to you. See, sometimes me and Pan work together on you, Buck. You know what I mean? We can double team you. You ain't the only one that got reps.
Now, that's okay for you. His job is directly correlated with my happiness as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see how that pans out for young Panzika.
So you good, though. I'm in here.
Behind the scene. Yes, lovely to see you.
Okay.
Why are you conspiring against me?
Just because it's you. You my boy. You know what I mean? You know, the people, they say, Buck, the people you love the most is the people that you aggravate and agitate, too.
Lucky for then I must be the most beloved person in all of Middle Tennessee because I swear to God, people live to piss me off.
Hey, you know what? So I've been listening to y'all show. I've been listening to Pan's updates.
Talk to me.
If you were, let me paint a picture for you, Buck. Will you answer this?
Yeah.
If you're walking around a community park or a boys and girls club,
yeah,
you see a kid off in the distance approaching with the basketball in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Shorts on, basketball shoes, undershirt, maybe a headband on.
Happens to me all the time at Elizabeth Park. It's right across the street from my house.
Okay, so what do you think that kid is going to do? What do you assume he's going to do?
Probably shoot some hoops.
Okay, cool. All right, so you got that. Now you see me walk in. And people on the zone chat, what I have in my hand is a baseball.
What are you doing?
So I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm if you see me walking around and I got a baseball in my hand, what would you assume that I'm going to be doing?
It's a great question. I would ask you, why the hell do you have a baseball and whose car window are you going to throw it at? That's what I'm thinking.
See, what I'm doing is, Buck, I am channeling my heat that I'm going to be throwing for the Sounds game.
Oh, that's right. That's tonight.
Yeah, so the inner Dave Stewart in me is about to be shown. A little bit of Bob Gibson. I probably have a little bit of that in there. A little Sabathia because of my weight right now.
Sabathia.
You know what I mean? Yeah, a little bit of him. So, I mean.
Hey, CC got it done, no matter how big he got.
And guess what? I'm not in it, Buck, for no modeling contest or, ooh, you look the prettiest. What I'm in it for is results.
Yeah.
And you want heat? And let me tell you this, Pan. Get back. Yeah. Let me tell you this, Pan.
Get back in his sight
That's
lines.
right. This is what I want on your updates from now on. We got Ron Slay with the Nashville Sounds today throwing out the first
pitch.
No, that's where you're wrong. And that's where your whole show can go downhill if you leave it up to him. Because what I'm doing is I'm throwing out the first strike.
Oh,
I'm throwing out the first strike. That's what I'm doing. So okay, let's get this party started. I just want y'all to know that. Okay.
So this is must see in person. This is why you need to be well intoxicated by the time you get to First Horizon Park. Not you. You may want to. I don't know.
Hey.
You go to First Horizon. Go early. Bring your friends, your family to see this man not throw out the first pitch, but the first
strike.
That was a terrible strike call.
No, that's my call. That's the State Ike Wings call.
I want some wings.
See? Thank you.
Oh,
Pan, you get it, Pan. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
Wait, okay. Do I need to leave you two alone? Like, this is like a relationship that's gotten stale with Lucas and I. Like, Lucas needs a little spice in the bedroom, so he calls his side chick, Ron Slay, comes out of the woodwork, sprinting up and down the halls like he's done something wrong with a baseball in his hand.
So you know what that was to show you?
What? With your base running speed?
No. Yeah, listen, I'm being the pitch. I ain't nothing here to designated hit or none of that. I ain't back.
Don't pull anything out there today,
that was
please.
to show you that in that 40 that Bab's been challenging me at, I get a little 5-0. That's all.
Wait, why is Dawn challenging you to a 40?
Because I told everybody, I could run a 5 flat.
Okay. I probably believe that.
Thank you, Buck.
Why is that? Yeah, I mean, I got you.
Listen, say, no way I'll be 5'5", 5'7", okay. Like that. No, I'm not. Not Dawn, if I train and get ready.
And even 5'5" at your size, I would accept.
Thank you.
Because I think this is the thing that we do with wide receivers all the time. Like Traylon Burks runs a 4. I can't remember exactly what Burks ran, but he's a bigger boy, right? Right. He's a bigger guy than Kyle Phillips. So Kyle Phillips' 40 time is going to look a little more aerodynamic than somebody the size of Traylon Burks. If you ran maybe not a 5'5", if you ran a 5'2", I would find that completely acceptable for a man of your stature.
Thank you. It's been retired for 5 years.
That's right. That's exactly right. Listen, I got you. Even though you conspire against me, I got you.
Just at times. It's out of love, though.
At times. Well, in fact, why don't we do this before we get into the basketball? Because conference finals are underway in the NBA, and game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals took place last night. Do you see the trophy closest to the clock in the studio? I need you to pick that trophy up.
Okay, hold on.
I need you to pick that trophy up, and I need you to read what it says for the audience. Okay? Now we did this with Ramon yesterday. But I want you to read what it says on this trophy, okay?
Okay,
we'll leave the name out just because this may be a real person.
First of all, this trophy has all kind of finger marks on it, which I don't approve of. But faster is on the I don't know what is this? What wheel is this on the ship?
It's the wheel of a ship.
Okay.
Yes.
Captain D Seafood.
Yes. Captain D.
Hospitality Supervisor Award from 2003.
That's right. And we'll leave the name off.
Store number 3525, period 4, 2003.
That's right. So do you know what that is?
What is that?
That's to sit next to your second place golf trophy. The name that's currently on there is going to be removed. In fact, Robert, can we do this quickly and surgically? Do you have tape back there? We'll do this in real time. I want 3HL written in place of the name of the woman who won the 2003 Exceptional Customer Service and Supervision Award from Captain D's. It may not even be a local Captain D's. I believe Robert purchased this from a Goodwill, brought this here for you today.
Who put this in a Goodwill?
Goodwill
has nice things. I like Goodwill.
Goodwill is tremendous because you can find such valuable artifacts. And you know what? Somebody bought that. Robert bought that.
Okay.
Brought it for you because that is that trophy there sitting now in the studio next to your golf trophy.
Yes.
They have the same value as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, wow.
They have the same value.
Which is zero.
If we're promoting. No, I want to know from Robert what he actually paid because then we can assign a numerical value. Robert, how much did you pay for the trophy?
It's on the bottom of it. It is $199.
$199. So $199. For the $199, there it is. 3HLs. Again, read it for people, Slay. The award that your show has won.
This award given to us by Buck Reising.
That's right.
The Buck Reising Show is the Hospitality Supervisor Award from 2003, though.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't even recent.
No.
Okay.
From what establishment?
This is from Captain D's Seafood.
Yeah, you can't leave out the Captain D's.
Finest seafood in town.
That's I mean, we're in Middle Tennessee.
Long John Silver's would beg to differ.
Oh, okay. No free ads. Unless you want to spend money with us, Captain D's or Long John Silver's.
Yeah, we accept.
Now, we're going to come in here. There's going to be like a mountain of fish fillets in the studio tomorrow. It's just, I can't do it.
Hey, Buck, hold up, though. Because I heard you and Ramon in here yesterday. I heard you and Savagery. And y'all were talking about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. And what I'm excited about, he gets to play in this golf Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame event coming up soon.
Okay.
And he's going to finally golf.
He's never golfed.
Bingo.
Oh.
And he gets to get out there. So I want him to see how hard it really is to get a second place trophy in golf. That's the only thing.
Sure.
Like golf, man, I'm going to tell you what, man. And now that I found out, well, I got to tell this later. Go ahead.
Save that for your show.
I am.
Save the good content for your show.
I almost gave some stuff away. I can't.
I will not dispute that a second place trophy in golf is more valuable than a second place trophy in any other sport.
And especially in Captain D's eating. Or supervising.
Again, we will. Yes, it is. It is. But that's a first place. That's a winner. In fact, that Captain D's trophy has more value to this radio station, to this programming staff, than that godforsaken second place golf trophy that adorns our studio, that disgraces our studio with participation award. At least the Captain D's recipient won something.
Probably a lifelong.
Lifelong of the hush puppies. Lifelong.
That was good.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'd get down with some hush puppies. You want to talk about some basketball?
Yeah, might as well, Buck. Drug me through the dirt. Yeah, clean me off and let's talk hoops.
You started it. You came in to my house conspiring against me.
He led me down this road.
Well, that's because
You're a minion.
He's no. How does it feel to be my minion? Oh,
bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
All right, relax. Relax back there with your audio delights.
To be clear, I missed the rebuke that and put it in reverse Terry on accident, but it worked.
I think it worked.
It did.
I think both worked.
Yeah.
See, even, and the only way that you can fix this is by proclaiming your love for somebody, right? Because anytime you get in trouble. No!
I love Peyton Manning.
Oh, my God.
What is happening?
Hey, Pan is off this rock.
What is happening?
Robert, take over.
You're demoted from minion. Robert's the new minion.
My hotkeys accuracy is abysmal today.
What the hell? Star Wars into Bev Davenport? You're beyond help at this point. All right. Wow. Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1 last night. Miami got Game 1 over Boston. This has been the series that I've been waiting for, Slay, because Boston is playing at a high level. Miami is the sneakiest 1 seed to ever exist in an NBA postseason. I don't know why they are not discussed as a better team as they are. What stood out to you about this first game of this matchup?
Man, what stood out to me most about this, Buck, and I talked about it on our show a little bit yesterday, is who's going to be able to stay the healthiest in this series. This series and also the Western Conference series, that's going to be huge, man. Coming out and having Al Horford and Marcus Smart both not able to play, 3 hours before was like, oh, man, what are we supposed to do? So I thought they adjusted well in the first half and ran off momentum. But another thing, too, this is 2 things. So health is one. The second thing that can't be overlooked, even though you got some stars playing in this, is the coaching. The coaching in the Western Conference, which we'll get to, and in this Eastern Conference, Spoelstra doesn't get enough credit. And I think the reason being the way he came into it, you kind of was gifted a team, and LeBron and D-Wade and Chris Bosh and
Pat Riley.
Right. And Pat Riley knew exactly what he was doing, knowing that he was grooming him the whole way. But when you get thrust into sports with those type of stars, you kind of don't get the credit when you're falling in the shadow of a guy like Pat Riley. Yeah. So it was always Pat Riley pulling the strings. Now you got the bubble come along, and he guides those guys to the finals in the bubbles, and people kind of put an asterisk about that, around that.
Only for LeBron.
Oh, yeah, exactly. If it was anybody else, they would have said, the bubble's great. Carmelo won one, it would have been perfect. But so now you come into this situation where you have a season, and they went through the season fighting injuries, adding guys in, adding pieces, and, man, the game adjustment that he made with his players defensively on a guy like Tatum, on a guy like Jaylen Brown, man, it was phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. And I thought they did a terrific job of being able to get out in the second half and run and get out in transition. So it's going to be interesting to see how they respond in Game 2, Boston, that is, knowing that Marcus Smart may be out again. You're not sure about Al Horford. Robert Williams still trying to get his feet back under him. Grant Williams came back to reality a little bit.
Came back to reality. There's such a wide gulf between Game 7 Grant Williams all of a sudden, and then, a little bit of a return to, I don't want to call him a pumpkin because Grant Williams has been contributing legitimate minutes to them all season. But, it's 27 points in the Game 7. That's not going to be the normal Grant Williams experience.
No, and then you look at it and you say, how did he get those points? It was because of open shots.
Yeah.
And Miami didn't disrespect him at all. They paid attention to the detail of it, run him off the three-point line, make him take a dribble and give it up. He's not going all the way to the hole. He's playing a role on this team. So, man, I think they did a terrific job of paying attention. And you got to give Hero guys like Strus, who's dropped out of nowhere.
Miami always does this. They always have a Max Strus. It is so bizarre to me. And, I get their whole heat culture thing. It's a legitimate discussion whether I guess that the closest comparison without the championship. Patriots are probably the Spurs in the NBA given the run that Pop went on. But that's something that's very, very much embedded into what the Miami Heat do, and they're always able to come up with a Max Strus. I swear to God, they've had that guy on their bench giving them, 15 minutes a game for my entire lifetime. On the other side, though, with Boston, Ime Udoka has done such a good job basically not being thrust into the role because it seems like they had a plan when Brad Stevens was going to move to the front office and this was going to be the role that he would embrace. But the way that he has found to get meaningful minutes out of more than just Jason Tatum, where they don't feel as singular or as, what's the word that I'm looking for?
As one-dimensional?
They have more dimensions to them. They're not a one-dimensional team in a way that they could be easily done because of how much of a star he is, Tatum.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. And then the difference, I believe, now that we have to see out of Udoka, and there's growing pains to it, is now you're in the playoffs and you got to do it.
Yeah.
You went against a Milwaukee team that was a little better than bruised, missing Chris Middleton. So Drew Holiday, he's a two-way player who got wore down a little bit by having to carry the offensive burden along with Giannis, and that didn't help. And he did a great job of getting those guys motivated and going to play. Even the games they lost them. It wasn't like Milwaukee just beat them. So you going into this series, and this is why I mentioned coaching. Every coach that's in this conference finals on both sides has taken their lumps. You look at it, Jason Kidd. You look at it, what Kerr, what he had to go through. I just gave you Spo's history. Udoka's new into this game. It's not much that Brad Stevens can give him, knowing that it was a disconnect, and that's the reason he had to move to the front office. So it's gonna be interesting to see how far he can push these guys, because at some point it relies on the players, but not early in the series. So game 1, 2, and 3, maybe 4. That's on, to me, the schemes, and you can counter. If you get to 5, 6, and 7, that's all about the wheel. I know what you're going to do. It ain't nothing else you can throw at me. We're ready for whatever in this series. Then what you do. It's up to your players, but you got to get them to that point. Can he get them to that point? Remains to be seen. Done a great job, though, being able to get Pritchard and guys like that in playing. It's God. I thought another guy that probably he should look forward to if Marcus Smart is going to be out. Neesmith did a pretty good job, man, from Vandy. So I want to see how he plays him and uses him.
Ron Slay, 3HL, 3-6 is where you can find him, as well as on the mound at First Horizon Park tonight. Throwing out the first pitch. Make sure you're in
Buck.
The building.
Throwing out the first strike, brother.
The first strike.
Yeah. Hey, look at you.
A little softer.
Yeah. That was weak. Give it another one.
Hey! Back off me.
That's it.
I'm not the one under fire here today. It's you, Bev Davenport. It's you. Can you correct your mistake?
I love Peyton Manning.
There it is. Hi, Bev. We missed you, girl. Game 1, Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors tonight, 8 p.m. Central Time on TNT. Pat Beverly is still on ESPN. He has been on ESPN for 3 days.
I wish.
But what Pat Beverly does on television is what Luka did to the Suns in Game 7.
It's true.
Because it is, that I know you've expressed your thoughts on the Pat Beverly experience, and now we are 3 days into it and he's still on television.
Right.
But what Dallas did to absolutely demoralize the Phoenix Suns, I thought was as great a performance by Dallas as I've seen in these playoffs, but you cannot. It's a choke job doesn't even begin to describe what Phoenix did at home, Slay. I don't know. Golden State is a different problem entirely, and it will be an interesting matchup to see how these two coaches attack each other's squads, but I still cannot, 3 days later, get over the collapse of Phoenix in that Game 7.
Yeah, that was tough to watch, man, knowing that they had the best regular season record, and you figure they're going with momentum coming off a finals appearance last year. Like, it's just a matter of time till they get there. And then you get matched up against Dallas. And I honestly think it was a matchup problem. You know, when you look at guys like Brunson being able to get going, Dinwiddie at any time, Finney-Smith, and then Luka, who can always create. The adjustments being made, I don't know if he did it personally, Luka, or Jason Kidd did it, but making Luka get the ball out of his hand and make it stop sticking and let other guys get going. I don't think Phoenix was ready for that. You know, and I don't think that's a coaching thing. I think that was a player thing. Like, oh, wow, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to play Brunson? And by the time you look up, you got a monkey wrench thrown in it, and it's 3-3. And then in the 7-game series, the way Jason Kidd blitzed Devin Booker, made him get the ball out of his hand, play Chris Paul a certain way. They haven't seen that in the playoffs yet. Regular season, cool, but not in the playoffs. You looked up, it was down 15, and then it just exploded. You go down 50. It's crazy.
It's Warriors minus 5.5 at home tonight. Who you like on that spread?
Honestly, man, I like the Warriors. I think starting off just like it went over in the Miami and Boston series. I think after Game 3, they'll settle in and start to get the scheme going as far as defense goes. I think they come out and score. They're going to hit the over on this, and I'm taking Golden State in this Game 1.
That's Ron Slay's prediction. You want to stick around and do some polls?
Oh, yeah, you know I love the polls.
Look at that. Okay, polls are next. What are you fist pumping for? What's wrong with you? What are you doing? You're not going to talk to me? This is a banger? What is this?
Hot and Cold, Katy Perry.
Okay. Slay, your thoughts?
Okay.
What are we going to, we fist pumping all night long? Just hand laundry?
This gives me European vibes. This was some of the because the reason I say that, we were just talking about the movie House of Gucci I watched. And
ooh, how was that?
I thought I'd give it about a 7. Yeah, it was pretty cool to me, man. But just seeing the play, I told Buck I'm biased to it because I was seeing things in the movies and I knew where it was and things like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But the music you were just playing gave me Club Hollywood vibes.
You know what? Club Hollywood.
What country was that?
Yeah, this was in Milan. Yeah,
nice.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Italy
5
is
o'clock in the morning.
Italy is one of the few countries that I've never been to, and I'm dying to go.
You missing it, dude?
I'm dying to go. Now I refused to, after my 2-day trip to Egypt, that I wanted to just physically take my own life afterwards because whatever, that was necessary. It was cool to go see family, but never again.
Yeah,
am I doing a 2-day cross world trip to Northern Africa to spend 2 days and then to come right back. But Italy is something that's definitely on the bucket list.
Nice, man.
So you liked House of Gucci?
Yeah, I give it a 7.5, man. Just because I'm telling you, I'm so biased to it because when he took off, well, I don't know, I was gonna spoil it. But
spoiler alert. It's been out for like 2 months now.
Well, we know what happened.
Okay, yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. So when he took off, when he got in trouble and he took off to Switzerland, like I could just imagine myself doing that while I was going to Switzerland. I won't reveal, but it was pretty dope, man. Seeing how do you call the big church? Duomo?
Duomo, yeah.
Seeing the Duomo right there, going shopping right there in that little area. Like, hey, man, that was Monte Napoleone. That was my area right there, man. You know what I mean?
The Slay Day.
Yeah, so salute to Gucci, man. I remember they used to come out there, man, as soon as we hit the door, man, they come out with the chocolates and the champagne, take us downstairs and let us do our thing, We don't want nothing off the rack. That was in my heyday, man. I was spending too much bread.
I love it. Listen, that's an experience that you will never forget.
This is true.
Clearly. You can make up for it on the back end with all of your mountains of sports radio money.
Slay was playing professional basketball in Italy, an hour and 20 minutes away from where I was spending my summers visiting my grandparents.
That's
in
the
northern
crazy
Italy.
thing.
Look at
crazy.
that.
Me and Pam been kind of joint at the hip.
All right, this is getting too uncomfy for me. Hit the polls. Quickly, do it now.
Not now, Jenny. I'm on the radio.
Hi, Forrest.
Buck Reising gave me a job. Said something about a poll update.
I think this is one that's problematic.
Wasn't at that club where you became
I think it's a Simple Jack situation.
Anyway, Buck Reising's producer and correspondent has the final poll update. I'm not a smart man, but I know who Lucas Panzica is.
All right, take Forrest to Club Hollywood. Quickly.
To Club Hollywood, presented by Two Rivers Ford. You can custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you when it gets manufactured. What is your favorite 30 for 30? James says the Pony Excess.
Slay, do you have one that comes to mind?
Yeah, right off the Lakers. Well, it was the Lakers versus Celtics when they were talking about Magic.
Bird. I think it's just called Bird versus Magic.
Yeah,
or Bird Magic.
That was dope to me.
Mine is Lucas. Lucas called this one out earlier in the green room. The two Escobars is by far and away my favorite.
That was dope too.
But honestly, the USFL one with Uncle Donnie Trump. That one's a big time too.
Robert brought up the O.J. Simpson multi-part one, which was
the one that won the
fantastic.
Oscar.
Yes.
That one. I don't even consider that like a 30 for 30 because that was straight up like cinema.
That was a movie.
Jake says the best that never was. Mahogany says Be Water, the Bruce Lee 30 for 30.
Man, nobody mentioned the Miami Hurricane store.
No, I think people don't want to say the U because like you always default to the U.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the standard for what people's 30 for 30 experience is.
That's cool.
Catholics versus Convicts, another good one.
The second, the U part 2 sucked.
U
part 2 wasn't good.
Yeah, you can't do that behind it.
What most intrigues you about the XFL? Rick says absolutely nothing. I don't care for minor league baseball either.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that today. Robert is going to pitch me on why I should give a damn about the XFL tomorrow on the show.
What is the best name in football? Jake says easy. General Booty, who just committed to play for Oklahoma.
Did you see this?
Oh,
his first name is General. His last name is Booty.
Good one from Max. Equanimous St. Brown.
Equinemius St. Brown. He plays for the Packers.
No, not anymore. I think he's a Chicago Bear now.
He is a Bear currently. That's correct. And he has a brother, Amon-Ra St. Brown, after my heritage, which I appreciate. No, the bet we did an all names team, and Cavassier Smoke, the running back.
That's dope.
Yeah, you don't top the Cavassier. Pass me the Cavassier.
Karen says Titans defensive lineman Tier Tart.
Yeah, a.k.a. Pop-Tart. That's what Teron Davenport calls him out on the field. It makes me laugh because he's, 330 pounds. He's a giant nose tackle, and you call him Pop-Tart.
And Jonathan says it'll always be Jim Bob Cooter.
Go Vols.
Would you pay Kyler Murray 3 years, $121 million? 80% say no.
We didn't get to that one either. Benny Mike on YouTube just says full name is General Axel Booty. Axel is his middle name.
That made it greater. That made it greater.
Got the booty on his back.
What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? Mike says whatever is happening before the Sounds game tonight.
Yeah, that's gonna get. I don't know if it'll get dumb, but it'll get stupid for sure.
Bucket says the way Robert says papoo.
Yeah, the way that I say raccoon and the way that Robert says poo-poo. That's a tough one.
Puka says the XFL getting a 5-year contract from Disney and ESPN, considering how bad ratings have been for spring-summer football.
Doesn't matter. Live sports and it's football. People will continue to watch. It doesn't help that the USFL, they're playing in empty stadiums, and the only team that draws is the Birmingham team. Those the polls?
Go Stallions. Those are the polls.
Go Stallions.
That's the show. Thanks for hanging out, buddy.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, Buck.
3 to 6 p.m. at Third and Home is where you can catch the 3HL Ron Slay first pitch directly.
Correction.
First steer. Blaine and Mickey are next.